Sunshine streamed in through the window the next morning, alerting me to the start of a new day. My eyes shoot up, with Devlin's words replaying in my mind. Although he had tried to play it off, I could tell whatever he wanted to tell me was something serious. And yes, I was curious to know what it was and, at the same time, not sure if I was ready to. As I closed my eyes, I buried my face deeper into my pillow, shielding myself from the sunlight. It has only been 2 days since I got here, but I was worried since there was no news about Darium or an update about who was behind everything and if they were able to find out who it was. Shaking off the thought from my head, I got out of bed, making my way to the bathing chamber to get ready for the day. I didn't waste much time getting freshened up before changing into a simple blue floor-length gown. Although it had been difficult to help myself into the gown and all, I was able to do so after much stress and groaning. Kiva was with the twins. I had already told her about my outing with Devlin a day before and had asked that she watch over the twins since they were still going to be fast asleep this early hours of the morning. I gave myself one last look in the mirror, taking in my snow-white hair, which was tied up in a bun with 2 strands at the side and a gold crown with a Nisha crest in the middle, which was seated perfectly on my head. Once I was satisfied with my look, I made my way towards the door, pulling it open, only to see Devlin standing there with his hand raised up, about to knock on the door. He stood there, dressed in his royal kingly suit, with beautiful eyes adorning his face when his gaze met mine. Morning. The corners of his lips remained curled up in a smile. Morning. I responded, a smile gracing my face as well. How did you sleep? Better than my first night back here. How about you? Somewhat. I've been stuck with worry all through the night. His smile dims a bit, but only for a second. Do you wish to have breakfast before we leave? I don't really have much appetite for food right now. I tell him honestly, while trying not to fiddle with my fingers, not when my nerves are getting the best of me. It's understandable. Devlin responded after some time. We should get going if we want to be back before noon. I gave a small nod, taking his arm, which he had offered to me, as he led us out of the palace to where the carriage awaited us outside. He helped me up into it before getting in as well, signaling the coachman at the front of the carriage, and we began riding off, making our way out of the palace grounds. So, I started off expectantly. Where exactly are we going? Devlin, who sat beside me with his hand still holding onto mine, gave it a soft squeeze before lifting his head up for his gaze to meet mine. I was thinking it would be nice to spend some time outside the palace. I know that despite having lived here for the early 18 years, you have hardly gotten the chance to explore outside the 4 walls of the palace. The smile on his face grew even more. I want to take you to a favorite spot of mine. I know there might be a lot of beautiful sightseeing places in Nisha, maybe even better than where we are going. But it happens to be my place of comfort. I go there to clear my mind and rearrange my thoughts. Or honestly, when I'm in a shitty mood. The ride to our destination took about an hour before the carriage stopped on a walkway with beautiful tall trees with pink petals adorning each side. Devlin was the first to get down, helping me down as well while I admired the beautiful scenery before me. Enchanting, isn't it? He asked, getting a nod from me as I took focus in the view. Come with me. Devlin grabbed a hold of my hand, pulling me towards a little path that led to the wood, not before giving an order to the palace guards to stay behind. You are not going to throw me off the cliff, are you? I joked, and he let out a laugh, giving me an amused look. I have no idea why you would think that. He chuckled. I'm not going to throw you off the cliff. I would never do anything to hurt you. I won't last a day in the living world, not when Darium tries to have my head. And we both know there is no escaping him or his wrath. Not when it comes to you. True. I said it with a smug smirk, which made him laugh even more. I see you have gotten quite cocky. Devlin mused out. I can't help it. I answered playfully, flipping my head, and we both burst out laughing. We walked a couple more feet, stopping at least 6 feet away from the precipice, and I couldn't hold back the gasp that fell through my lips. This is a sight to behold. I was in awe, staring at the alluring scenery in front of me. The beautiful, mystic waterfall falls down the cliff, leading to a lake with exotic, colorful flowers surrounding it. I knew you were going to like it here. It's private and can keep out of prying eyes," Devlin stated, taking a seat on a huge stone, and I proceeded to do the same, taking one beside him. We stayed in a comfortable silence, just staring into the horizon for at least a minute or two, till it was broken by Devlin clearing his throat before speaking. "Sincerity be damned, I have no idea where to start." He sighs as he begins. "I have dread this day more times than I can count, knowing that it would be inevitable. That I will have to tell you the truth." When he turned to face me, I could see the agony and suffering. His gaze allowed every uneasiness or concern I had bottled up to resurface. "You will undoubtedly be hurt as a result of this, and while I would like to save you that suffering, you still have a right to know the truth. The truth about our parents." "What do you mean?" I asked in a hushed voice, with furrowed brows. "What more do I need to know about Leandros and Afra? What aspect of them could possibly cause me more harm than they already have?" Devlin groaned. "I am aware of how hard you worked for their acceptance and love, how you desired they would treat you even half as well as Katrona. I know very well that there have been moments when you had condemned yourself because you felt unworthy." On his face, I could see despair, pain, and wrath all at once. "You have no idea how many times I wanted to tell you that it wasn't your fault and that you were more than perfect. Those despicable people who you tried so hard to gain their acceptance weren't deserving of the love, respect, and warmth you gave them." A lot of questions swirled through my mind, but I chose not to say anything, deciding it was best to let him continue. "I'm not sure how versed you are about the history of Ahades, or more importantly, the previous king before Leandros. King Lishal." I shake my head, letting him know I had no clue who he was. King Lishal had only sired one child, a female, Princess Alina, whom he adored. She was everything to him, and he treated her like he would his male child and heir, despite knowing that there was no way she could ever rule the people, not when it was against courtesy. I was utterly confused. I had no idea. I always thought Leandros had been the heir apparent and next in line to the throne. I was totally confused as to where this was leading to and why he was telling me this. Devlin scoffed. "Trust me, it was far from it." "So what happened? How was he able to gain hold of the throne?" Princess Alina might have grown up with a silver spoon in her mouth, but she was somehow able to stay humble and was the kindest soul anyone could ever encounter. Her beauty was also spoken across the tribes, with suitors coming in and visiting Ahades from across the world in the hope of gaining her heart. But Princess Alina wanted to marry not just for the throne but for love. She wanted someone who genuinely cared about Ahades, the people, and her. Someone who wasn't trying to fool her into liking him just for the greed for power. Was she able to find someone who loved her and the people genuinely? I asked curiously, wondering how Leandros fits in with everything, how he was able to get the throne, and how I had not heard about Princess Alina till now. Devlin's face stretched up in a smile. "She did, in the most unlikely way," he says. "He was neither royalty, a nobleman, or held a high position in the court of power. He was a complete nobody, a commoner who had nothing to his name, yet he was still able to win her heart over. Something so many suitors tried to do, trying to woo her with their riches and expensive things. And Leandros, as I'm sure you might have guessed, was one of those suitors. Or more importantly, he was the son of the king second in command, having grown up alongside the princess and having the biggest affection for her. I'm not sure if that was ever genuine, though I doubt it. I'm guessing his ego must have been bruised when he found out she had chosen a commoner over him. Probably tried a couple of times to convince her that she was making the biggest mistake by fraternizing with the likes of a commoner, but Princess Alina remained unwavering in her choice. Devlin carried on. Her father, the king at the time, was also against it because he wanted her to marry into another prestigious family, but seeing how resilient his daughter was, he had no choice but to give them both their blessing. They got married that very year, birthing a son the very next year. King Lishal carried on with his reign for 7 more years and was going to abdicate the throne to his son-in-law, after watching him for years and seeing how he was with the people. He was more than convinced that his daughter had made the right decision by choosing him as the next king of Ahades. The kingdom was peaceful, the people were thriving, and through the years, there hasn't been a word from Leandros. According to his family and the court of elders, he had gone to live with his mother's tribe. Everyone thought he had moved on. The palace maids, servants, and Alina were the only ones who knew about his obsession with her. To the rest of the tribe, he was nothing more than an angel. Like I said, the kingdom had been so peaceful, everything was going great. No one had expected such a tragedy to hit, especially on such a happy day. On a day in which Princess Alina and her husband were to be crowned king and queen of Hades, the princess husband was found with a sword to his chest on the barn farm filled with dung. It was like someone was trying to send a message, one that was clear to everyone. I shudder and cover my lips with trembling hands. And you think Leandros had a hand in it? Who else benefited from his death? The princess had been devastated, barely leaving the room or eating anything, which made the king worried, not when his daughter was heavily pregnant with her second child. Devlin carried on with his story. And just at the brick of everything, Leandros shows up almost like a knight in Shining Amore. He was able to convince the king to marry his daughter to him, with a fake promise to treat her with love and respect. 3 months after they were wed against the princess's better judgment, and that very month they were both coronated king and queen. And on the day the princess was birthing her second child, her father passed away mysteriously. Princess Alina, unable to bear the painful loss of not just her one true love, but her father as well, couldn't handle the pain, passed away after childbirth. Not before naming her daughter. Devlin turned to look at me with emotions I couldn't discern, his gaze unwavering from my blurry ones. Her very own special joy, Letitia. Gotten from both Liesl, her father's name, and Tatum, her husband. I shook my head, his very words resounding in my head, the tears pooling down my eyes were unstoppable. No. I refuse to believe this. I say, getting up from my feet and taking a step back. I stumbled in the process, and Devlin stretched out to hold me still, but everything felt hazy. Everything he said felt unreal. It was overwhelming, the thought that I had struggled hard my life to please the likes of Leandros in the hopes that one day he would be proud of me, and maybe he would look at me with eyes full of love and adoration. To find out the reason for his hatred and disapproval all these years was because he never thought of me as his. I was never his daughter to begin with, and I had grown up thinking he and Afra had both birthed me. Wiping the tears off my eyes, I began making my way back to the carriage, with Devlin following behind me. I knew he had more to say, and there were so many questions left unanswered, but at this point, I could feel my heart constrict. A bile building up underneath my throat, my stomach felt squeezy, and my heart was beating rapidly in an uncontrollable manner. I wasn't sure how I was able to make it to where the carriage was or how I got in. I was lost in my own thoughts through the ride back to the palace, with Devlin's gaze burning at the side of my face, filled with worry. Letitia. Devlin called from behind me when we made it back inside the palace walls, but I was too out of it to care. I felt his hand grab a hold of my arm as he pulled me up the stairs, my eyes still filled with tears. There was no denying that I had thought myself to be adopted at one point, but I quashed down the thoughts, mainly because I knew Leandros and Afra would never cater for a child that wasn't theirs. I guess I wasn't that far from the truth. I wondered what my real parents were like, Princess Alina and Tatum. If they had been alive, would my life in the palace have been different, and would I have never been left with the void of parent love? Would it have been better? I sighed as Devlin continued to pull me up the stairs, the tears still streaming down my cheeks. But I said nothing, and neither did he. We carried on walking instead of going up to the 5th floor, where my room was. Devlin stopped at the 4th floor, walking down the hallway, till we got in front of a door towards my right. He pulled the door open, gently pulling me in, and I took in the familiar chancery, which had once been occupied by Leandros. I could remember the times I had been called here by him, the only time I got to see him, and they all consisted of him berating and faulting everything I did. Being in here again felt strange. "Have a seat," Devlin says, snapping me out of my thought. I looked down at the couch in front of me before returning my gaze to him. His eyes were pleading with me to comply, and I sighed, taking a seat on the couch while wiping off the tears in my eyes. I then buried my face in my hands, still not saying anything. Devlin's footsteps echo on the floor of the room, away from me, but for a minute, only for him to return to my side, with him gently nudging me. When I looked up, he held a glass out to me. "Here. Drink this, it should help relax you." I reached for it, but there was hesitance at first, before taking the drink from his hand. He crossed the room to the big picture window, looking out at the sun falling over the land, shining brighter than ever. He held a glass with the same liquid, taking a sip. My eyes drifted down to look into the glass at the molasses amber-colored liquid. "What is it?" I croaked, my voice thick from crying. He turned slightly to look at me. "It's mead. I didn't put much of it in the cup, but more than enough to get you relaxed. So why not have a sip?" He looked at me expectantly. Clenching onto the glass in my hold, I take a sip. The sweet, honey-like flavor hits my tongue, which turns into a burning sensation down my throat. The room was silent for a while, and I knew Devlin was waiting for me to regain my composure. Waiting till I was ready to voice out those questions burning through my mind. What about Leandros and Afra? How exactly did they fit into this story? I asked after feeling myself begin to calm down. Afra had been his mistress for years, birthing him a daughter as a result of their affair. Devlin answered, walking away from the window to take a seat opposite me. After Princess Alina passes, he crowned her his queen, making Katrona a part of the royal family. How do you know all this? When did you find out the truth about everything? About Leandros and Afra not being both our parents? Devlin was hesitant in his answer. I have known for a while. A while, when? I asked again. Was it after my marriage with Darium? His eyes wandered around the room nervously, and his fingers ran through his hair. His demeanor told me what I needed to know. I guess it was before my nuptials with Darium. I couldn't stop the hurt from reverberating in my voice. Letitia. And you still took their side every time. I say, cutting him off. Letitia. I could hear the pain in his voice when he called out my name for the second time, but I didn't care. I was hurt. You knew about what they had done. You knew very well the pain they had brought to our family and to me. I happened to be your only family. And yet every time they seemed to matter more, they always came before me. You were always quick to jump into the defense of their daughter, but you paid no regard to me, Devlin. I yelled, getting to my feet and smashing the glass cup against the wall behind him. You gave me away in the stead of Katrona, their daughter. So I ask again, Devlin, how long have you known this? Right from the very beginning. His head was cast down as he answered. I might have been 7 at that time, but not little enough not to understand what was happening. I stared at him in disbelief. The fact that he knew right from the start the whole truth and had done nothing about it, playing along with their charade, was mortifying. I feel the anger grow in me, and the glare on my face intensifies. I guess it's understandable, after all, they never treated you like you were some filth. You were always their beloved son, and they always shower you with as much love as they do Katrona. So, of course, why the hell would you care? It's not like you were subjected to their hate and mockery. It was anything but that, Letitia. Oh, Devlin, spare me whatever fallacious word you have to say. The only reason you are telling me this is because they are out of the way. Would you have told me the truth if Leandros was still alive? I yelled out, taking in the guilt on his face. Why am I not even surprised? You might not be blood-related, but you sure as hell are the same as them. I spat, making my way towards the door. Devlin grabbed a hold of my hand, halting my step. I know you probably hate me for keeping the truth from you, which is justified. I should have told you sooner. I never should allow you to grow up thinking you were never loved. You are my sister, Letitia. I love and cherish you more than you could ever imagine. You sure have a weird way of showing it. Using me as a pawn for Katrona. I snarled. It was your idea after all that I walked down the aisle in her stead, wasn't it? You are happy, aren't you? He questioned. You being here would have only made you more miserable. Marrying off to King Svetoslavic was the only way. I scoffed. Yes, you are right. I am happy with Darium. Happier than I ever thought I would be. I said it with a gleaming look. But what if it had been the total opposite? What if marrying me off to him had been far worse than being here? I doubt you would have ever cared. His step fluttered back, his hold on my hand loosening, and I could tell my words were a stab to his heart. The pain of it was clear to see, but I didn't care. I just couldn't bring myself to.
Third person's POV.
Devlin was devastated. He knew for a fact that the truth had hurt Letitia, and he could only wish that there was a way he could take away the hurt she was feeling, but he knew it was something she had to face by herself. He could all but hope that she wouldn't push him out this time, not after giving him that look and finding out that he had known about the whole secret from the beginning. Maybe he was trying to justify himself, but at the young age of 7, there was nothing he could do to stop the tragedy that had happened, and he had carried that guilt for as long as he could remember. Letting out a sigh, he walked into his chambers to see Minerva walking out with a cloth on her hair to stop the water from dripping, and Devlin couldn't help but admire how beautiful his wife was. He was truly blessed to have her in his life, and now they were expecting the creation of their love. His eyes trailed down her bump, and his eyes swelled with pride. He couldn't wait for the day he would meet his son or daughter. He couldn't wait to hold them in his arms, whispering songs of love and cradling his heir to his chest. "How did it go with Letitia?" Minerva asked, removing the white cloth from her head and letting her hair loose as it tossed down her back. "She is pissed at me," Devlin answered with a sigh. "I did expect it to go this way." "Were you able to tell her everything?" He shook his head, taking his seat on the bed. "Some of it. At this point, I doubt she is ready to listen to anything I have to say." "You still should have told her, or she might go on misunderstanding you." "I will, maybe after giving her space for a day or two." Minerva nods, coming to sit beside him with her hand placed over his shoulder. "I'm sure it's all going to work out." "I hope so."
With the dying need to let off some steam, not when I could feel the anger and frustration building up within me, I stood at the center of the palace training ground. It's been 2 days since Devlin told me the truth about Leandros and Afra. I was no doubt pissed at the fact that they were not at all related to us, but I still couldn't get over the fact that Devlin had been aware of this truth for a long time and had done nothing but play along with their sick, twisted game. He was very much to blame for what I had to go through here, as they are. "Arg!" I yelled out in frustration, going about everything I had learned from Kaylin. It had been a while since I had trained, so I was a bit rusty, but that didn't stop me from swinging my wooden sword, aiming it at the head of the straw pile in front of me. If this isn't a sight for sore eyes, I wonder what is. A voice spoke from behind me, causing me to spin around. The sword in my hand pointed at anyone who dared to disturb me. I took in the sight of an unfamiliar face, a boy who looked to be the same age as I was, or older, I wasn't sure. He was fair, almost pale white. His unfathomable, golden brown eyes contrasted exceptionally with his light-toned face, and a dimple was visible on his cheeks as he scowled down at me. "Who are you?" I hissed out, my sword resting on his chest, though I doubt it would do much harm. "Someone who couldn't bear to watch the depressing sight anymore." He answered, not looking at all fazed, that I wondered if he knew who I was. "I don't know who you are, but I suggest you. How about a duel? Let's see how bad you can possibly get." He said he was cutting me off as he walked past to get a wooden sword of his own. Gareth, who had been watching our interaction from where he stood, raised a hand to his sword, ready to strike him down if he did pose any danger. The boy returned to where I stood, his brown eyes shining with excitement, taking in my very angry ones. "Don't time me, you are chickening out," he teased. "Scared that I might hurt you." Fury built up in me, and I swung my wooden sword at him, and he was able to avoid every swing swiftly without even raising his. This carried on for nearly 30 minutes, till he raised his sword, blocking one of my attacks. This time, he made the first move, attacking me before I had a chance to defend myself. He grinned when he realized that I was not in the least bit faltering. We continued to fight, and I was certain that he was being gentle to me. I bet he could accomplish this while wearing a veil, because he didn't even appear to try. My hair was already a tangled mess, sticking to the sweat on my forehead, yet I refused to back down. He swung his sword at me with greater force this time, denying me the opportunity to parry his attack. His leg shot out to kick mine from behind, making me defenseless, and I found myself falling flat down, my butt to the floor. His wooden sword was placed above my shoulder blade as he peered down at me with a smug look on his face. "If this were a real sword, you would be dead by now. I would advise you to move away from the queen." My gaze left the boy, shifting to behind him, to find Gareth's sword placed on his neck. He let go of the wooden sword, letting it fall to the ground before raising his arms up, but I could tell he was anything but intimidated by Gareth's threatening tone. I gazed at the boy with curiosity, wondering why he seemed so bold. He was no doubt a great swordsman, but he wasn't dressed as such. I knew he wasn't a part of the palace guard, nor was he a soldier. Judging from the creased and torn clothing he had on, I would think of him as one of the palace servants. But his skill had me doubting. "I'm fine, Gareth, you can put down your sword," I say to him, raising to my feet as I dust off the sand on my armored cloth. Gareth seemed hesitant at first, his gaze searched mine to see if I was truly okay. I gave him a nod to let him know I was, making him retreat his sword and put it back on his scabbard. He sent a glare at the boy in front of him, who, in return, had a cheeky and amused smile on his face. Gareth gives a bow, making his way back to his position, his eyes never wavering away from me or the stranger. "Why do I feel like your guard is thinking of zillions of ways to bury me?" the boy asks, noticing the unchanging glare on Gareth's face, directed straight at him. "Maybe that's because he is." I mused out. "I advise you to sleep with an eye open, Gareth can be quite unpredictable," I joked, watching him shudder a bit before a smile stretched across his face. "I guess this would be an opportunity to test myself. Then we both can find out which of us two is stronger." He shrugs, his attention returning to me. "Well, seeing the way you fight, you have the potential." "Thank you very much for your kind word, Queen Sviatoslavic." He chuckled, letting me know he knew who I was, and yet he seemed nonchalant about it, making me more curious to know who he was. Though I won't call what happened between us a fight, it was more of me warming up. He says it cockily, yet for some reason I didn't at all find it offensive. Instead, I was amused by it. "Really?" I questioned, folding both my arms to my chest with my brow raised. He shrugs. "It is what it is, Your Majesty," he responded nonchalantly. "But I admit, you do make a good warm-up sparring partner." Well, I'm honored." Sarcasm sipped from my voice, but he didn't seem fazed by it. "You're very much welcomed." He picked up both of our wooden swords, returning them to their rightful places, while I took off the little armor I had on. "So I'm guessing it worked." The boy turned to look at me, taking in my confused state, before sighing. "I'm guessing it worked. You don't look as frustrated or angry as you were before." He stated this, and I was surprised he had noticed my emotions. "Just how long has he been watching me?" I gave him a small smile. "I feel light-hearted." He nods. "I'm glad it helps, at least for now." "Excuse me." My brows furrowed. "You know this is just a temporary fix, not until you address the reason for your exasperation." He states, the playfulness in his tone is gone. "I don't know what it is, but I suggest you face it head-on, that is the only way to lighten the heaviness in your heart." His words were true, and I very much knew that. It was best to face it head-on, which means having to talk to Devlin again and hear whatever excuse he has to say. I let out a sigh, running my fingers through my hair. "I didn't think you to be knowledgeable," I say instead, changing the subject. His lips raise up to the side. "Well, I've been told to be a man of different skills." I shake my head at this, letting out a laugh. "Don't you think it's quite over the top to call yourself a man? You look no day older than 1 and 9. A huge scowl plastered across his face at that. "I will be turning 20 by the end of the month, just so you know." "Sure," I said teasingly, fighting back the urge to laugh when he scoffs. "By the way, I still don't know your name." "Now, why would you like to know my name?" "Ha!" He smirked mischievously before faking a gasp. "Don't tell me you have been charmed by our little interaction after discovering how handsome, awesome, and talented I am." "I'm sorry, but you are just not my type." He shrieked at the last sentence, which sounded like a dying walrus. He carried on rambling. "I already have someone in my heart, and I would have you know that I am a loyal man." I couldn't stop myself, and I doubled over in laughter. And then said, "So much for asking for a name, it's good to know you swing the other way." I teased him and did a mock surrender, trying not to laugh at his horrified face. What? I will have you know I do like women, he said firmly. I nodded in a way that said that I didn't believe him. Ugh, you are annoying, he said in playful frustration. I guess that's why I like you. Ah, that is the sweetest thing you have said through the course of our conversation. He rolled his eyes at this, making me laugh. Now I knew the reason why I didn't feel annoyed at his snotty remarks. It was because even after knowing him for a few minutes, I could tell that he has a good heart. He could be a jokester, but not a disrespectful kind of person. Zakkai. What? My name is Zakkai. His smile, which reached up to his eyes and wrinkled them, flaunted his modesty and humility. It's a pleasure meeting you, Zakkai. I'm Queen Letitia Svitoslavic. He cut me off, and I rolled my eyes at this. The smile is still on my face. Letitia is more than fine. You can call me Letitia, as all of my friends do. So that means we are friends? He smirked, wiggling his eyebrows. I shook my head, giving his shoulder a playful nudge. The both of us letting out a loud laugh.